Welcome back, everyone. It's Joseph here for Zenny62. So, I'm here to discuss the 3-2 Raiders, my thoughts of today's game, as well as the press conference in which John Gruden finally acknowledged the email that he sent and the subsequent answer that he gave with regards to that email. So, when I thought about this game going into going into Vegas playing the Chicago Bears, there had to be questions or wonder if the events that happened 48 hours prior to the game would affect any of the players. Now, you might hear from the players, as we did during the press conference, that had no effect. But saying it may not reflect what they internalized or maybe what was put on the product that was put on the field. One of the criticisms I always had going into the season, and I vocalized that on here, as much as I think John Gruden's a great coach or a good coach, I wouldn't say great, I retract that, is that I think we need a different play caller. I know at one time he was the boy genius, that could do no wrong and was the creative play caller. I just don't think that should be the. I don't feel that reputation is deserved in 2021. It's not to say that he's a leader of football players or a good leader of football players. I just think there has to be more creative play calling. There's always excuses, and I get tired of the excuses. And the players, as well as the coach, I need to do better. It's on me. Well, it's enough of you saying that, and let's get down to let's try to fix it. And it's always, the players are great attitude. We don't give up. That's great. But I have problems with the play calling. I think the Raiders have become too predictable that we saw in the last two games. And they consistently, for each of these last 5 games, have started off extremely slow, which can be the reason for that could be the offensive line, obviously. And when they made the decision to get rid of Gabe Jackson and Rodney Hudson, they can tell us, the fans or the media, how they felt really secure in going with the offensive line that we had this year. But the fact of the matter is they gave up 2 great players. For whatever reasons, I know that this last year going into this year, there was a heavy hit on the cap space. But we see subsequent to the beginning of the season how money's been moved around to acquire maybe other players or to, get some of the money deferred to a different day. So that's the problem I have. Why couldn't we do that prior to keep Rodney Hudson or Gabe Jackson, at least to solidify the line a lot better than it's being solidified now? And so we do hope that it gets better, but at this point, I don't know if it will. But we can't continue to getting off to this slow start and then playing catch up throughout the rest of the game. And we just didn't play well today. You saw that with even Waller missing a couple of passes that he could have caught, or maybe was thrown behind him. Jacobs had a few good runs, but still the running game is not there. Maybe the run protection isn't there. And so when you're dealing with teams that have a decent defensive front, or basically, someone like Khalil Mack, and we have Parker and Leatherwood essentially not doing the job, how can we expect anything different than what happened today? The defense kept us into this game, but the offense failed us again. Our strength last year seems to be our weakness this year. So that's my take on the 3-2 Raiders. It was a disappointing loss. one stat I'd like to bring up to you, which has been, I think, documented since Gruden has taken over the Raiders, that anytime the Raiders come off, I guess in the last few years, or maybe the last couple years, anytime they come off their first loss, they have lost consecutive 4 games after that. So that's something to look out for and see if that will still replicate itself this season, 2021. Now, going into the press conference, we did see John Gruden eventually talk about the incident with the email. You had a lot of reporters that asked him questions first about the game. And, he took a second before he answered the questions, was solemn about it, and reiterated that he was sorry. He apologized to DeMaurice Smith and to anyone that was offended by that. And kind of left it at that. Didn't go into details, but did reiterate what he said initially 2 days ago, was that, it's something that happened 10 or 12 years ago, and he just doesn't recall the email or the message. So there's 2 ways to look at that. Maybe a lot of us don't recall a lot of things that happened 10, 12 years ago. Making a slur or statement like that, for a lot of people, would have been something they remembered. And some people have said, well, maybe he doesn't remember because it's a constant for him. I don't know if that's the case. But you got to think about, the Raiders weren't in his life at the time. Neither was the NFL. He was an ESPN analyst. So do we go back in time to punish people something they did a decade ago for something that's been revealed today? Al Davis has been notorious for giving people second chances, if not third or fourth chances, and that's from multiple people who's worked with Al Davis. So what do we do as the Raiders do moving forward? I suspect that there will be a heavy fine. Do I think they will fine him? No. Also, when the questions were asked to different players during the press conference, how Gruden's explanation of the events were accepted by the players, and the players said, okay, he accepted it, that they support his coach, especially Derek Carr, super supportive of his coach. But a lot of the players, including the black players that were interviewed today, that it was a non-issue. And so they felt that those events didn't affect today's game, and that could be the case, but still, you got to wonder, these questions are still going to be out there, especially that John Gruden admitted that he did not hear from the NFL yet, but suspected that he would in the next 2 or 3 days. So our next game next Sunday is against the Denver Broncos. So we'll see how the Raiders recover from that. And it's unfortunate, they're 3-2. The Chargers won again, so that's going to put them in first place. And so let's see what happens moving forward. Keeping here in Zenny62. And let's go over that statement again real quick. I'm going to post it up there right now, and I'll read it with you. And I had some thoughts about that statement, and I'll do a follow-up after we take a look at that. So when we read the message from Mark Davis, the content of an email regarding DeMaurice Smith from John Gruden when he worked for ESPN 10 years ago was disturbing and not what the Raiders stand for. We were first made aware of the email late yesterday by a reporter, and we were reviewing it along with other materials provided to us today by the NFL. We are addressing the matter with Coach Gruden and will have no further comment at the time, and that's Mark Davis of the Raiders. So let's take a look at something real quick, and that is the third line from the bottom, which says we are aware over the email and reviewing it along with the other materials. So the question is, what other materials? There's rumors out there that there's drawings that could be pertained to the statement of Michelin lips as possible other photographs or photographic evidence. That's just a rumor at this point, so we still don't know what other materials the Raiders are referring to, which brings up more questions and more possible disturbing answers. So again, I'll say it, that if we don't right the ship sooner than later, it's not going to look very good moving forward. Again, we'll see what those additional materials that the Raiders refer to is eventually told to us or exposed. Whether or not more material shows up through the media, we'll find out sooner than later. Keep it here on Zenny62, and don't forget to like and subscribe.